Let's get focused with InFocus, the series where we dive into the most talked about topics, trends that are shaping our workplaces and organizations. I'm Sakshi and I'll be your host for the series where we talk about the inside scoop with the leaders, industry experts, and influencers about the things that shape our world in which we live and work. Joining us today is Kim, who is an HR expert. She brings a wealth of knowledge in HR and her field story. Welcome to InFocus, Kim. It's so great to have you here. Let's jump into the fun section already.
Fun section already?
Fun section,
okay.
Yeah. How do you like working with people?
It depends. In my line of work, working with people is a must. I enjoy working with people a lot. I do.
HR often gets misunderstood. People think that it's all about hiring, firing, paperwork. What do you have to say about that?
I want to say that a lot of people have huge misconceptions with HR. Mm-hmm. People tend to be scared of HR because, again, we're hiring, we're firing. But what people should realize is that most of these decisions don't really come from us.
True.
We are working with the organization to see, or working with the hiring managers in the organization to see what your best fit is. Mm-hmm. If you've hired someone that isn't working in your team, the hiring manager comes to us and then we guide them the best way we can to say, okay, can we salvage this relationship with this person, or will it ruin the entire culture? And then that's when the terminations come in. Not because we're just the face, but the reasoning behind it goes so much deeper. It's kind of like an iceberg. I mean, when you're working in different organizations, it's a different split, right? Mm-hmm. Here at OEG, our split is a lot of hiring. Mm-hmm. So a lot of our day, a big chunk of it is, screening candidates, making sure we have the right persons coming on board, onboarding, stuff like that. But we have employee relations. That's also a big part. Planning employment engagement activities to make sure that you're not only working every day, but we're showing you that we care about you. We're giving you incentives. Mm-hmm. So we're planning those as well. We're doing employment letters. You need to get a house, so you need to go pay for your rent.
A lot of things.
Yeah, it's a lot of administrative tasks.
Yeah. Okay. That's really insightful. What do you think are the misconceptions people have that you want to debunk?
The biggest one is the HR open door policy. That's one of the things that I would like to debunk. Mm-hmm. HR is not against you. We are on your side.
Every job has its highs and lows, right? What has been your highest and the lowest point in your journey so far?
My journey so far, just overall in this company?
No, overall.
Honestly, there are two lows, I would have to say. Mm-hmm. Or I'll start with the highs. The highs are the people that I work with. Mm-hmm. I've been blessed to have worked with many different types of people, and many good people. The lows are sometimes management. And not specifically here, I've worked in many different companies where it feels like management can be against you.
Also, some can be micromanagers.
Yeah, it's like micromanaging, doing things going out of your way to do things to make you feel like you're smaller. One of the biggest things that I noticed when I came to Canada was the lack of DEI representation in organizations. I would say that was a big low for me, because when you come to Canada, the one thing that they market is, it's open, it's a line of opportunity, we love DEI, they're very friendly. Yeah, that's the one thing. And people are friendly, but not really. It's almost like toxic positivity.
Canada is promoted as thank you and sorry country.
Coming from a country, I am obviously a visible minority, and coming to a country where it's predominantly Caucasian, working in institutions and seeing what their actual DEI space is, it's not great. So that was a big low for me, and seeing how organizations like that can put a physical glass ceiling on top of you that makes it so much harder for you to break.
Yeah, they show that they have all these policies and they are like on the top of it, but
Yeah.
deep down it's not the same.
Yeah, it's I
Different
call
story.
it, yeah, I call it the full policy. It's the faux pas because the policies are there. When you're looking for a job, it's always in the little disclaimer at the bottom. You know, we're a company that focuses on DEI and we want to make everybody feel safe. But realistically, if you look at the people that are working there, how is that being shown, right? If you are so open to the DEI space, why is your work environment not diverse? So that was a big thing. So what used to happen was that there's a lot of workplace loyalty. The goal was, like in our parents' time, was to stick with this company and stay with it. Companies appreciated their staff. And even if they didn't, they wanted the pension at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But one of the things that has changed over the years is the younger generation, millennials and I'd say Gen Z and the younger generation, they care more about their mental health.
Yeah.
So they're not gonna go above and beyond if they're getting paid at a much lower rate than they should be getting paid.
I think it's also because they don't feel valued enough.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So value is something that has changed over the years too. I mean, before our grandparents or our parents would just come home and just cuss about it. You know, like I remember your mom comes home or your dad comes home after work and then it's like, oh, I hated my job today, it's stupid. But the younger generation, what they'll do now is that, you know what, I don't like that my manager talked to me like this. I'm not gonna do anything anymore. There is some right in what they're doing because again, it's a direct result of what the organization is doing. If you have majority of your employees quiet quitting, then you have a problem.
I think the newer generation, they also call it like healthy boundaries setting.
Yeah.
Right?
And that's also something too, like I'm glad that you brought that up because one of the biggest things is that the older generation a lot of them don't believe in mental health.
Yeah.
It's when
work-life balance,
or
right?
work-life balance. Yeah, when you hear about depression, it's like, oh, you're just sad. Just go for a drink or go to a party or something. But it's not as simple as that. It's there's a lot more that goes into it. I mean, there are people's lives at stake because of mental illnesses and mental instability. So it's something to look into.
So with more companies like Amazon making a mandate to like return 5 days in the office, like how do you think that will impact now?
So it depends. I think the return to work culture or the work from home culture will still be around. COVID changed a lot, changed the environment a lot. It changed the work culture a lot. I don't think all companies will go back to 5 days a week. There are companies out there that are amending their return to work structure or their work from home structure. Maybe it's not 100% at home anymore. It's like maybe 3 days a week or 2 days a week, 4 days a week. So you have some big companies that's their preference. They want their employees to come in. Yeah, I personally don't think that it's the best way to go about it because there's so many benefits from working from home. Again, mental health aspects. It's a little bit more healthy, I would say. The commute as well. I mean,
Also, it brings a good balance, right?
it's a good work-life balance.
To any employee.
Yeah, and if you ask anybody what their work-life balance is when they're working from home, they say, "Oh, I work more when I'm at home." One thing that is known is that when you give people flexibility, they want to do more. When you keep them in this little box and you tell them that this is what you need to do right now, right then they feel like they don't want to do it. DEI has its proven benefits. It allows companies to be more diverse. And you know what's funny? I read this the other day. When DEI came into play, or when it was first brought up, it was really to facilitate more white women.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, and I read it and I thought it was just so, I'll show you the article. So I'm fact checking. But I thought it was so interesting because, and I think this is great for Black History Month because the article, what they they did the statistics in the article said that the people who benefit the least from DEI policies were colored people, Black people, and the LGBT community, which is sad, right? It was first brought into place so that they could have white women go into leadership roles because it was very male dominated, right? And so it's been, you know, that was the reason. But there are benefits as well for us. Even though we're the least beneficial, like we're the least benefited, at least we're being benefited. Once you get rid of that, in some ways, once you get rid of that DEI initiative, then what happens? You don't need to fill that DEI quota anymore. Then, your work environment just goes back to what it
late
was before.
1800s?
It goes back to the late 1800s. It goes back to where it was before.
Yeah.
So them getting rid of it, I think it's pretty sad because it feels almost like regression to me. I mean, the DEI policies were a big boom in 2020 when George Floyd was, you know, the InFocus. There, I used it. Yeah, but it almost seems like everything that has happened in that time is now forgotten. It was like a quota that they had to fill, and now they're going back. It's like, okay, you know what, we don't need to do this anymore. Everyone has forgotten. So I don't think it's the best.
Okay, here's a fun one. For platforms like TikTok, we see trends like act your wage.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I don't use TikTok. My age. I'm pretty young, but it would seem like I'm older. I'm kidding. I think that goes along with quiet quitting as well. I mean, there's so many people that act their wage 5 days a week. So my thoughts on it, again, is to reevaluate the company's culture, reevaluate why someone would need to go on TikTok and act their wage. You know, like what can you do to make your employees feel a little bit more recognized or make them feel good about coming to work on Monday? I mean, Mondays are always a drag. We all know. You have the time of your life on Friday, and Fridays.
I would say Fridays are the same, honestly. Fridays are the other Mondays.
Okay, well, I mean, you have the time of your life on Saturday and Sunday, and then you have to get up and come back to work on Monday. I mean, I would say make the work environment an enjoyable place to come to, so that your employees can get out of bed on Monday and be like, you know, I love my job.
Okay. With some AI tools like ChatGPT, DeepSeek, right? We sometimes lose that human personal touch. How do you like balance that?
Well, I mean, I try to only use AI when I really am trying to get it everything just like professional. Even then, I will still try to put my personal touch into it, so that when you're reading the email, it doesn't sound like a robot wrote it. You know, I mean, we're human resources,
Exactly.
not AI resources. So AI has a lot of benefits for companies. I mean, it helps with recruitment, it helps with onboarding, but when it comes to more employee-specific things, employee engagement, employee like conflicts and stuff like that, or moral, it's better to just use it minimally. I would say try to keep the human in human resources.
Let's move into some actionable advice for our listeners. For anybody who's like actively interviewing, what are your tips for them?
Yeah, so with the age of technology, I would say you have to put a little bit more effort in your resume writing.
Instead of ChatGPT, yeah?
I mean, you can use ChatGPT for that because it's like you're using AI to your advantage. If you write your resume, you put your resume into ChatGPT and you ask it to make it ATS friendly, then you have more chances of being seen because it will make it or format it in such a way where it puts certain keywords in your resume so that it will be picked up by the system that they're using. Yeah. So if you're lucky enough to get a pre-screen, I would say that's the first step, right?
Yeah.
Try to be as professional as possible. Usually you get an email that says, okay, you know what, we are interested in interviewing you, but we'd like to have a pre-screen first to see if we're aligned. You know, try to be as professional as you can with that return email. Give them a time frame that you're available, and make yourself available for that time frame. Don't have us call you and then you're not available, and then we hear things in the background because you didn't make yourself, you didn't put yourself in an environment that was quiet enough for you to have this pre-screen. A pre-screen is the first step, and it's also an important step, because if something goes wrong with the pre-screen, or it just doesn't work out, you're not getting an interview. Right? So it's a very first important step. And then if you've passed the pre-screen stage, you've been invited for an interview, whether it's virtual or in person, be on time. Right? Try to dress professionally. First impressions do matter. Try to research the company that you're interviewing for. Get some talking points. Try to calm yourself down. We can see nervousness.
Yeah.
And sometimes we can see nervousness, and yeah, we'll feel sorry that you're nervous, but at the end of the day, if you did not give a good interview, then there's nothing that we can do about it. So try to find ways to help reduce the stress of the interview. You're talking to people. Yeah, right?
Yeah.
So we're trying to make you feel as comfortable as possible.
With all the new immigration policies in Canada, how do you think HRs can support new immigrants?
By not exploiting them.
Good answer.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen so many articles on the internet about immigrants striking or speaking out about big companies exploiting their work just because they know that they have nowhere else to go. Not because you have someone in the corner means that you can just treat them any old way.
True.
So that's one big thing. Another thing is to be understanding. I mean, a lot of people come here for many different reasons. So being open and understanding with your work population, whether or not they're immigrants, is a good way to go about finding people to fill your workforce.
What's one thing everyone should know about HR?
One thing everyone should know about HR, we're here, we're on your side.
What's your go-to strategy to manage stress?
Music and sports. Like, what I actually wanted to do, my aspiration in life was to become a therapist.
Oh, wow.
So I do know a couple different strategies. I'll preach it. I don't practice it all the time, but yeah, music is very good. Music therapy. I would say sports therapy is also good too. Anything that gets your mind off of what is happening in the environment. I don't know, seeking a therapist, just taking time for yourself. If it gets overwhelming and you feel like you don't have the space to go off somewhere and listen to music or go do what you usually do, try to find space within yourself. That's always a good strategy, because sometimes it's not always possible to do what you usually do.
What's more important, a good resume or a good personality?
Both. Good personality, yeah. A good personality is better. If it comes down to it, a good personality is better. We'd love for you to have both. But.
Any funny story? No.
Any funny stories? We're just, you know what? No, you know what is it's not funny, but the worst thing to happen is when you send your application for something that you have no experience in. Oh, you know what? I saw one time that was actually pretty funny. I went to the grocery store one day, and somebody had put their resume in the meat section. It was just like on the chicken breast.
Any interested HR can
I looked at it. I did. I looked at it. I was like, this is a good approach. I had to move it to get what I wanted, but it was just there. It was just like on the meat section. I was like, you know what, Danielle, Craig, I understand. The job market is not the best right now because again, there are a lot of layoffs happening. But also you have to make sure that your resume stands out. I mean, the when we put job ads out there, we get hundreds of jobs within hours. And I don't think it used to be like that, because getting a job used to be a little bit easier. Like I talk to my mentor sometimes, and she expresses the same to me. Like she would just not feel comfortable in a job this week, and then by next week she'll have a job. That doesn't happen anymore. And I think it's a cause of, you know, just the environment that you're in. We know that Toronto is very overpopulated. There are a lot more people than jobs, and so what you need to do is make sure that your resume is standing out. Again, use AI to your benefit. Don't use AI to write your resume, but use AI to make it ATS readable or ATS friendly, so that you can at least stand out of the crowd. Not everybody's using the same strategies, but there's just one thing. Think about that one thing and use it to your advantage, and it will work to your benefit. Yeah. And also, you know, send your job application. Send it out. Like, unfortunately, again, my mentor has told me, you know, unfortunately, we don't live in the space anymore where you can just apply for one job and hope that you get it. Cross your fingers. You just have to keep going, keep applying. Don't be discouraged. It can be a very discouraging thing to do.
Yeah.
But don't be discouraged. Send 5 applications each day. Keep updating your resume. Keep doing things to it to make yourself stand out. See what you can change. Talk to somebody. Have someone review your resume.
Or practice interviews.
Practice interviews, yeah. If you get a pre-screen, try to practice for a pre-screen so that you can at least get your foot in the door. The more experience you have on your resume also sets you apart from the rest of the crowd. So yeah. So I would say if there's an email, it says specifically, please apply to this email, send your resume to that email. Because I've worked in organizations where they don't even look at the Indeed apply.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they have a specified HR inbox that they put in that email, and they look at all the resumes that come in. What they're thinking is that if you didn't take the time to send your email to that inbox that we've asked you, put blatantly in the ad and asked you to send it to, then 1, you didn't read it. 2, you don't really care about the company. You're just sending it because you don't have a job. And then 3, it's your lack of focus and attention to detail, which is very important when finding a new job anywhere. So if you see that email on the bottom, not the accommodation email, the email that says how to apply, please email this person at whatever HR email, send it to that. That's the best approach. Yeah, you'll find that your resume will get seen a lot faster that way, because not many people will send their emails there. Yeah.
And what's your take on cover letters?
I still think that they're important. Yeah, I still think that they're important. Again, each recruiter has their own way of looking at resumes. I don't know if you've ever heard of the 10-second rule. Yeah. A seasoned recruiter will look at your resume in 10 seconds and know whether or not you're fit for the job. But again, like, everybody has their own preferences. Some people I know look at the cover letter and they look at what you've written in the cover letter. They look for grammatical errors. They look for how much of yourself you put in that letter.
Yeah, how customized.
Yeah, how customized it is, what you've done, what have you achieved before they even go to your resume. But again, it's preferential.
Before you go, do you want to give any last piece of advice to others?
I just gave all my advice.
Anything?
I would say the advice that I would give to, you know, the job-seeking workforce or the population is, don't let the job market discourage you. Keep going. You are worth it. Keep going. Don't be discouraged. Don't let anybody tell you that you don't deserve what you should have, and you know, just keep going. You will get to your goal eventually. Just keep trying.
Okay. Thank you so much. Right. Thank you for sharing your expertise and insights with us. This was really nice conversation, and we learned a lot about HR and the job market and what we should do and what we should not do.
Yeah.
Right? So thank you so much for your time today.
No problem. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. That's a wrap for our first episode of InFocus. Thank you so much for joining in. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you are here, please like, comment, and share. Be sure to subscribe to follow on our next episode. See you next time in Focus.